are you doing today? Come on in, sit down, and let's see a little bit of the stuff that I've dug up. Happy Sunday, everybody. If you've not been here before, welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth, and we are going to look at some who is affiliated with ARC. So ARC is the rehab facility that is in Letcher County. And it's the one that is being investigated by the FBI for possible Medicaid fraud. And so I got to thinking, ARC is not by itself in the treatment world here in Letcher County. And so I wanted to just take a look and see. And so let's pull this up. We're going to look at heal. Guys, let me know if my sound isn't on or if you can't see the screen. All right. The HEAL initiative, bringing grassroots solutions to the opioid epidemic. And this was written, or it was published, March 2nd, 2018. And then it was updated October 6th, 2021. Okay, so let me get back over here to read it. All right. The opioid epidemic and substance use disorder has likely affected everyone in the Commonwealth in the same way, shape, or form. While Kentucky has made great strides, especially in the areas of offering expedited treatment options, both inpatient and outpatient, to those struggling with addiction, the eradication of this epidemic must happen at home. That's the crux of the HEAL. And that acronym is for Help End Addiction for Life initiative in Letcher County. The small county tucked away, let me get back over here. The small county tucked away on the southeastern corner of Kentucky is a lot like many other counties. Their hospitals and clinics were full of those struggling with addiction. This overflowed to their court system. It affected every walk of life, from those who were addicted to families and children. It was wrecking lives every minute of every day. The answer to this growing problem is multifaceted and must include prevention, education, treatment, and lifelong recovery. I'll make sure. Can you all hear me and see me okay? Somebody let me know, if you would, please. It is spearheaded by a vibrant physician in the area, Dr. Van Breeding. Dr. Breeding, who works at Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, which is MCHC, was named Staff Care's 2017 Country Doctor of the Year. Staff Care's assessment of Dr. Breeding was spot on. He stands at the confluence of societal ills that are threatening the well-being of his home region. Dr. Breeding leads the monthly HEAL meetings. And that's what we are going to see how they're connected with ARC. All of these big organizations hit several years ago when people needed the most help. And I'm all for MAT treatment, okay? I understand that a lot of people, it has a really bad reputation with some people because it's abused by some, but it really gives people the ability to function. And that's the most important thing with recovery is being able to function. You know, you have to be able to take care of yourself, and you have to be able to take care of your kids. And so if a maintenance medication helps somebody do that, you know, that's wonderful. You know, it doesn't always have to be about abstinence, which I used to go to these heal meetings at the time when they first started having them. And we're going to see, I'm going to pull it up on my Facebook and we're going to look at it at the meetings. And we'll see how these all kind of fit together. All right. So Dr. Breeding leads the monthly heal meetings, which has grown over the last 3 months from a few people gathered around a table at a local restaurant to more than 50 people on February 26th. His passion for people is unwavering. He talks of how his approach to addiction changed after visiting Karen's Place, an inpatient treatment facility operated by Addiction Recovery Care, ARC. The HEAL initiative is led by a core group of organizations such as NCHC, Appalachian Regional Healthcare, Addiction Recovery Care, and SOAR, which has 2 employees from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, working in its offices. At any given meeting, you will find representatives from multiple health sectors: the local college, Southeast Community and Technical College, public schools, court system, faith-based organizations, nonprofit organizations, civil organizations, and even arts and entertainment. The meeting in February featured a presentation from organizers from the Levitt AMP series. Whitesburg was one of 15 towns in America selected for the concert series. HEAL's involvement? ? They plan to have a health and wellness fair to complement the first concert on May 31st with an embedded emphasis on addiction. Through the work of partnerships such as that with the Letcher County Health Department, Whitesburg, and Letcher County, will begin a exchange program in April. Also, through a partnership with Addiction Recovery Care, hospitals and clinics in the NCHC and ARH networks now have access to peer support specialists to help clinicians and patients who are dealing with addiction. The idea is to provide a pathway to treatment, a pathway to hope and healing as soon as possible. The opioid epidemic is real, according to the Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy's 2016 OverD fatality report. OverD deaths in Kentucky grew from 1,248 in 2015 to 1,404 in 2016. HEAL is showing that real and practical solutions begin at home. And home is where healing begins. To eradicate this epidemic, it will take a collaboration of all professionals representing all walks of life. It's our problem. We must create and work our solutions. HEAL demonstrates what is possible when everyone comes together and works towards a common goal. As I like to say, there's something stirring in the mountains of Appalachia, Kentucky. It's a movement of hope, promise, and healing. And that is, and then it's Joshua Ball is Associate Executive Director. All right. And let me go over. We're going to stop sharing that one because I want to make sure that I do this right. Hello there, Buckwheat. Can you hear me and see me okay? All right. So let's see. Then I wanted to go to this Facebook page. Let's take a look at this. All right. So, I wanted to go all the way down to the bottom here. So we're going to start. This Facebook page was apparently started February 9th, 2018. Okay. And we're going to go up and watch. Let's see. That's the one that I just read. And let's see. Here is Dr. Van Breeding. And let's see. What's it say? It doesn't say anything. It just has him and a patient and their family. All right, now here's one of the meetings, one of the HEAL meetings. I went to most of these. Let's see.
This is up there. Page from the Facebook site. Also, you can access fields out drug caps, get rid of them. So we're working on that with our school system. Ralph Hall at the Little Blackie Clinic, and Laura Gay in our Allison County Clinic, and our Buckhorn Clinic. Gary Turner's here tonight with our Buckhorn
Gritty
Clinic.
Grit. Well,
we're working to do that.
We are looking at the affiliations with ARC.
Any changes in that right now?
ARC is the rehab.
Prairie County, they've had such.
ARC is the rehab center that is under investigation by the FBI, and they're not alone. ARC is not the only one. Like this year, Tim Robinson addresses the HEAL Coalition in Whitesburg about the Addiction Recovery Cares Peer Support Academy. Graduates are being integrated into various community health and substance abuse recovery programs. Who better to help someone recover than someone who's in recovery themselves and knows the struggles and the blessings of sobriety?
And so I'm going to take just 2 minutes before we jump into the program and give you a chance.
Listen to this.
Please share it.
Can you all hear it?
Out that we're live, and we'll get started in just 2 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and share it.
That's my point.
Yeah, share it, man.
This is all about money. See, this here on the left-hand side is Tim Robinson. He's the CEO of ARC. This guy here he works for SOAR. I forget his name, but he's going to tell us his name here in just a second. And the guy in the middle is Matt Brown. He is,
like I said, if you've joined us, go ahead and comment on it. Let us know where you're at, where you're from, where you're watching from, maybe what your organization is, and share this feed with your friends. We're just going to have a conversation here talking about the future of Appalachia. Again, I'm Jared Arnett, Executive Director of Shaping Our Appalachian Region,
name, I forgot.
Also known as SOAR. And we just unequivocally believe there is a future in Appalachia. I saw a billboard coming down that said, it says, "Fear is contagious, but so is hope." And so that's what we like to share. We like to be the champion.
Hope is a big word for
promoting and inspiring the good things that are happening in the region. And the partners we have with us here today are definitely a part of that story. So we're glad to have them on. We've got Tim Robinson, who is CEO of Addiction Recovery Care, and Matt Brown, who's Chief of Staff to the CEO. And we just want to give them a chance to talk about some of the work they're doing and how Addiction Recovery Care got started. I think this is a fascinating story as you look at SOAR and our blueprint for 21st century Appalachia. We work across several goals, and really you guys touch on a lot of those, from entrepreneurship and small business to workforce development, to healthy communities, as we realize we have to address the substance use disorder epidemic that's not just in our community, but you see at this summit, it's all over the country. We've got people here from all over the country. So you guys touch on a lot of our different goals and are living it and breathing it and doing it. So I'm going to just maybe let Tim kick us off. and share a little bit about how you got started at Addiction Recovery Care. You were the founder, you're the CEO, and kind of share a little bit of that story, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying how exciting it is to be here in Atlanta
Can you all hear
at
it
this
and
national
stuff
conference,
and see
and
it?
to know that this conference was
Okay.
started by our Congressman Hal Rogers through the organization he launched now over a decade ago, Operation Unite, and that we're sitting here at I believe, the biggest conference in America on this drug epidemic issue, and it was founded by folks in Eastern Kentucky, our congressman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year, I loved what Senator Markey said from Massachusetts. He said that our congressman has been the Paul Revere of this issue.
Yeah.
And he said for somebody from Massachusetts, that's the highest of compliments.
That is true. That is
And
true.
so we appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we're doing and our work with SOAR and our work in the region. And for me, I got into this when I almost drank myself to death. Following
These guys are all
the death of
jet-setting
my
across
mom
the
at 43.
country,
She was
you
43 when
know.
she passed. From
They
there,
got
I
all
spent about
kinds of
8 years and
money.
almost drank myself to death.
Yeah.
And then I got sober in December 2006. 2 years later, resigned as prosecutor in Lawrence County, Kentucky, gave my law practice to my law partner, and started on this incredible journey. And now we're here.
Yeah.
This will be 10 years ago since we started. This
You
November
walked
will
away
make us
from
10
being
years.
from the money that
Just
you
very
made as a
thankful for the work
lawyer
we get to do,
to
and now we
this.
have a network of addiction treatment centers. I used to
That
say
must be the
Eastern and
money's
Central
pretty
Kentucky
good,
that
huh?
we just opened in Northern Kentucky. So really east of Lexington, but also Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad to be here.
Give us a quick summary of where you're at today. How many residential centers, outpatient centers, employees?
Yeah, so we've got 5 regional outpatient centers in Louisa, where we're based. It's where our headquarters are. Prestonsburg, Mount Sterling, Lexington, and then Covington in Northern Kentucky.
Okay.
And then on the residential side, residential drug and alcohol treatment centers, we have 9 programs that have residential, either phase 1 or phase 2, and really residential treatments where someone that's in crisis goes. So it's not only for detox, but also for residential.
Right.
And so we've got 9 of those type facilities, mostly all in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah. So we share this philosophy a lot in our office, is that we refuse to accept the risk of doing nothing. That's something we say a lot. Can you talk about kind of just that feeling, that moment when you were walking away from your law practice, like all the things you felt like were probably safe at one point in your life? So that's the entrepreneurial side of this, and also a service side. You were really doing it to help people. There's a lot of talk nationally about social enterprise, this idea of solving problems through business. And kind of talk just the risk, the entrepreneurial side, when you were stepping out, and what that felt like and what the reward's been for you.
Well, for me, it was,
Hearing
I was newly
giggle.
married.
Yeah.
Convinced the most wonderful woman on the planet to marry me in the summer of 2008.
That was close.
Convinced her to marry me, and then shortly thereafter,
It's a boys'
told her that I felt
club.
like I was being called to start a center and stop practicing law, and so
To me, it seems
she,
like they're all a big
she and I are both
fraternity.
people of faith, and
Yeah.
it's something that we didn't take lightly, and we prayed
Bunch of
about it, and we
frat
felt like we
boys
were called to do
running
this work. And
The
for me,
recovery.
when I got sober,
Uh,
I went from seeing my court
as
docket
entrepreneurs.
as those people to us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make for a very good prosecutor when you're wanting to help everybody that on your docket to find a way to have what you have. And really, that's what it became for me. And, as long as we've had addiction treatment in America, it's always been,
He was a
if you want
prosecutor.
your own
I didn't know
recovery,
that.
give it away.
Right.
And so to me, the great blessing is that now, for these soon be 10 years, I've got to give away what was freely given to me. I had someone who was a court bailiff,
Mm-hmm.
who was a pastor, who had a drinking problem himself, invest about 6 months of his life. I was telling somebody earlier, probably 20 hours a week he invested in me.
Wow.
For those 6 months and carried me. And so it was easy for me to give away what was given to me, and that's the gift of recovery.
Right.
And there's a lot of folks out there that may think that when someone's in addiction or an alcoholic, there is no hope. But I see it every day. I see it when I look in the mirror,
Yeah.
that there's hope, 11 years sober. When I see
Right.
people like Matt, who'll soon be sober 4 years, and all across our organization. And today we have 300 employees across those centers. Of those 300 employees,
And this was in
a third of them
2018.
are graduates of our program.
Wow.
So people that came in
So
the
this
door
was several
that are
years
now
ago.
working for us full time, supporting their family, getting their kids back, just living the abundant life.
Yeah.
And then half of those 300 employees are in recovery. So half of our workforce, 300 jobs, mostly all created in Eastern Kentucky, are people that were just like me, that were just like Matt, that lost their way, that never set out to become alcoholic or addict,
Yeah.
who find hope, and hope then helps them walk with somebody else, with a group, with a rehab, with a sponsor, with a pastor, with a church, with whoever,
Right.
to help them through their life.
Well, I think that's a great segue. Let's, you mentioned Matt there. I can introduce him. No, we've become close friends over the last couple of years.
They're all big
You've known him
buddies.
longer than me and got a little bit of that story there. Why don't you
Yeah,
go ahead
let
and
me introduce him. One of the things I'm so thankful for is getting to work alongside him. And Matt is, his story is one that was kind of unexpected for me. I knew that when we started that lives were going to be changed, but I didn't see the community development side of the work we're doing.
Yeah.
And Matt has been a great example for that. And he shows that this addiction issue doesn't just impact the person who's poor or the person that's uneducated. He was valedictorian of his senior class at Sheldon Clark High School in Martin County. He was on the basketball team. He went on to UK, got a master's degree, become a licensed physical therapist, and then crashed his life.
So did I,
on,
but they didn't want nothing to do with me.
And now, after coming to treatment, he entered one of our
I
treatment
wasn't
centers.
allowed in
Today,
the front
he
door.
is the number 2 person in our 300 organization, 300 employees. He's number 2, travels with me and helps lead the company. He is also on our city council now in Louisa.
Yeah.
His nonprofit has raised $85,000 the last 2 years in our town,
That's awesome.
doing things like totally renovating our city park.
Yeah.
And in his spare time, he's also the pastor of a church plant. And so he's one of my heroes, one of the best people I've ever met or known. And so, Matt, tell him anything that I left out.
That's pretty good. It sounds like you've heard that story before. So I got into this because when I went through treatment back in May of 2014, I had a spiritual awakening as well when I was in treatment. And I felt called to leave behind my career as a physical therapist and stay within the organization and take advantage of the internship program that I think is what separates addiction recovery care apart from all the other treatment organizations, is the path to employment.
Yeah.
Now, I had a path to go back to my old career, but felt called to stay. And my wife and I, we took it very seriously as well. I'll say that the best woman on the planet.
We'll make it into a
she's
debate.
yeah, right.
3 of us.
Yeah, no, right.
I think there's one thing clear, if nothing else, is we all 3 married above ourselves.
That's true.
Yeah, no
That's
question,
true.
right. But she and I took the decision for me to leave behind my well-paying career as a physical therapist to take advantage of the internship program. That was a large pay cut in the stipend program to have the hope to have a job at the 1-year clean and sober mark. And we came to the conclusion that that was the best path forward. We were being called to that kind of work. And today my life is completely, I can't imagine it being as good as it is today. I get to go to work and help other people recover and give my recovery away, just like Tim was talking about. And
They all got real
looking
good
back
kids.
almost 4 years later, it was the best decision that I've ever made.
Yeah. So both of you
Sure
are
was.
local Eastern Kentucky, Martin County, right? You're both from Martin County. Addiction Recovery Care is headquartered in Louisa, in Lawrence County. I'm going to pause just for a second and just remind everybody, if you've got questions for Matt or Tim or myself, feel free to leave those in the comments. Feel free to share the feed with your friends and get the word out there. Be a part of the conversation. We all know that there are we've all had friends, family members affected by this issue.
Honey.
So
TNT
ask us
in the
questions,
house.
and we'll get a little bit more personal about it toward the end. So I can remember, when I was at the chamber, Karen's Place joined the chamber, the Southeast Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. I really didn't understand what it was. That's neat. What is it? And we got to know. I think Jess was there at the time, and maybe was the first person we had, Jess Hinkle, that we interacted with. But then later, when I got to SOAR, I had the opportunity to come down. I met you at one of the roundtables we hosted, and then I came in Slade, Kentucky, out the Natural Bridge State Resort Park, and we started a conversation, and I started seeing all these connection points, which I think is incredible coming here to see, like you said, Operation Unite, and the leadership of Congressman Rogers. And I see where the solutions that have evolved to this, not just about treatment or prevention. There's this holistic pathway that we see that this epidemic is caused from social determinants. So the poverty in our region, the economic opportunity, and this idea that we connect all this.
They take advantage of the poverty and
the workforce
stricken areas.
Connection beyond just getting treatment. And we started seeing.
Let me say that they take advantage of the poverty-stricken areas and the areas that have the least educated people. And if you notice what this is all about, it's about entrepreneurship. That's what SOAR. It's Shaping Our Appalachian Region is the name for that acronym. And they all are working together. And it's all, wait until you see all of the people who are associated with this. We're going to go look at the website here in just a second.
All that forum, you all had kind of planted the seed in that. So it evolved into what's now known as the Peer Support Academy. Kind of share with me, Tim, where that started and how we got to where it is now and what's happening.
So we're our whole treatment network, for the most part, at least a big majority of it, is in rural Kentucky.
Yeah.
Counties like Lawrence County and Harlan County and Jackson County and towns that most people have never heard of, like Benham and Annville and Louisa.
Right.
And it's probably some of the hardest places on the planet to deliver alcohol and drug treatment, because we've never had these kind of resources before.
Right.
So you can't just put out a help wanted ad and get a bunch of resumes for people that have experience in addiction treatment.
Yeah.
So we realized early on, because we've opened now, since the summer of 2013, we've opened 12 different treatment centers.
Wow.
And so we've had a big need for workers. And we realized early on that the best source for people to work in our treatment centers were the folks coming through our doors like Matt.
Right.
And so early on, we issued the challenge. If you will do an internship with us,
those are the people they
roughly
can
a 9-month
most
internship,
easily take
when you're 1 year
advantage
clean and
of.
sober, we'll hire you.
Wow.
And so since then, we've had hundreds of people that
And
have
they
taken
can
us up
take
on
the
that.
credit.
That's why, like I said, out of 300 employees, 100 of them are our graduates.
Yeah.
So we started seeing the success of the Matts, the Vanessa Keatons, the Brandon Leslies, these folks that were graduating our program, going on and being director of centers and just doing incredible work. And we got connected with you all just as we were starting to see that we ought to formalize that.
Right.
And so one of the things that SOAR did, and I think this is one of the powerful things about SOAR, is we got so many people in the Eastern Kentucky portion of Appalachia. They're doing a lot of great things, but a lot of times communities and people aren't connected. And so I think that's one of the powerful things that SOAR does, is brings people together, connects, and say, hey, you should be working with this. And so that's what you did, Jared. You introduced us. The first time you toured Karen's Place, you made an introduction to Jeff Whitehead, who is the director of one of the best workforce boards in the nation. EKSET, East Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program in Hazard. And you connected us. He came down, did a tour, and then after his tour, he and I, working with you and SOAR, We brought in Sullivan University, which is a privately owned college based in Louisville, who also has a learning center in our town in Louisa.
Yeah.
We got with their CEO, we got with some of their folks, and decided to formalize what we were learning with the internship program, which was how do we put something together that's recognized outside of just our organization, because we were hiring a lot of these folks, but we want them to have opportunities outside of us. So all of us working together came up with a concept that we would offer 4 college equivalent courses. Sullivan helped us put those together in terms of making them college equivalent. We would also have 2 classes that were practicums. We would also put those folks through a 40-hour training course and give an exam, which we were certified to do. And at the end of that process, they would have roughly 9 months, about 40 quarter credit hours.
Yeah.
That they could then transfer on to Sullivan, which represents almost a half of an associate's degree.
That's incredible.
And then at their 1-year clean and sober mark, they would not only be a certified peer support, but they would be a super peer support specialist. They'd be able to go to work in the field. In Kentucky, a peer support specialist is a Medicaid billable professional. So they would have a job, they'd be
Medicaid
certified,
billable
and they'd have all the skills they
professional.
need to be working day one.
Yeah.
And so we started that process in October of 2016. And then by spring of May
They had their eye on
2017, we
Medicaid from the
graduated our
very
first class
beginning,
of 16.
allegedly.
And of those 16 today, and we're almost 24 months out of those 16, 14 are clean and sober. They're working full time. They're paying taxes. They're a credit to their communities. And most importantly, they're strengthening their own recovery because they're getting up every day and helping other people walk out to recovery.
Yeah.
So it's been a great blessing for us to see all that put together. So thank you, and thanks SOAR for bringing the pieces together that helped us do this.
Yeah, that
One
happened.
of our first academy graduates is actually here at the conference, helping represent ARC. Kayla Parsons, she was in the first.
It costs like
graduate class.
So it's incredible. And
$6,000
one
or
of the things
something
I love
to go to
is,
that summit.
I think a lot of times the
I
thing
looked
that
into
we
it.
bring
I
to the
wanted
table
to
also
go,
in Eastern Kentucky, there's a lot of
but it
times
was way
we don't-
too
we
expensive.
don't necessarily trust
No way.
each other from organization to organization or community to community. But a lot of times we can be the organization that's built credibility and relationship with different organizations. It's almost a referral. It's like when we connect people, we work to develop the authenticity and integrity of what we're trying to put together. And I think people have begun to respect that. And it gets you down the road from the first meeting. Everybody's already saying, well, what are we going to do? Not trying to fill each other out.
What I really like what you guys do is when you make a connection, you just don't make a connection and leave.
Yeah.
You make a connection and you're on the first few phone calls and you're developing that
Come for the
relationship.
tour,
Right.
be
You guys
there.
are
Right.
a hands-on
Show up at
approach.
the meeting.
Yeah. And so it's really cool that we're here at this national conference. And there have been times that we've gone to national conferences. Even the first SOAR Summit, we brought people in from around the country to tell us how they did it. And now we're getting to come share solutions, how we're doing it. And people are interested in how we are moving the needle and changing things around. So you all are presenting tomorrow, I believe, here at the summit. Tim's giving a presentation specifically on the Peer Support Academy, I believe. Is that correct?
That's right.
And so I think that's incredible. Our last summit last year, we tried to completely flip that on its head and put people from our region on the stage. And here's what, I mean, and we're doing some, I say I'm talking about everybody in Appalachia, because that's what SOAR is in my mind. I mean, people are doing some innovative, incredible things. And you all presented at one of our SOAR board meetings, and somebody emailed me afterwards and said, I hear a lot about the problems in Appalachia. Today I heard about a solution, and that was very encouraging. So let's talk one more program that you're kind of in the midst of, and I like to kind of hear when we bring somebody on. We talk about how'd you get started, where are you at now, kind of what the vision is going forward, because we absolutely believe in vision. We believe in vision for the future of the region. I know you're a big vision guy with your organization. We're in one project that we've kind of been helping facilitate in the Kentucky River Area Development District, specifically kind of started in Whitesburg with several different partners there, including Operation Unite and Mountain Comprehensive Care, Appalachian Regional Health Care. So talk a little bit about HEAL, I believe is the acronym that we put together. Talk a little bit about what's happening there.
Enters HEAL.
It's the power of hope. So HEAL all got started, again, you and I happened to be at the Jenny Wiley Children's Theater. Our kids were in a play up there, and you grabbed a doctor from Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, MCHC in Whitesburg. Dr. Van Breeding, who last year was National Country Doctor of the Year.
Yeah.
And you grabbed Van and said, "Hey, you need to meet Tim. Tim, you need to meet Dr. Breeding."
Yeah. So what had happened there, I toured Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, and I got to meet Dr. Breeding and Mike Cottle. I mean, just an incredible group of people doing innovative things. And they started talking about trying to figure out how to deal with the opium and the substance use disorder. And I said, well, I know a group that understands this in great
You say
detail. Are successful at it. You all
OPIUM?
need to meet. And I'd sent an email to try to connect, and it didn't work. Well, ended up at the theater that night, and I sat down and I looked, and I can't remember which order it was, but either you were right in front of me, and Van was sitting directly behind me. I told Beth, I said, these are the two guys that need to meet.
Yeah.
And so you all connected that night, and I think that he ended up coming down maybe to tour
He
Karen's.
did. And he came in, he came down and toured Karen's place. And he had been on the front lines of the addiction issue and saw the overdoses in the ER. And what's easy to do at times is to get in a place where there doesn't seem a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And when he came to Karen's place, and I'm just repeating things that he said,
I think he's on right now,
Yeah,
too. I saw him.
he's probably on there. He's got more energy than any of us.
Yeah.
And he came down and he saw something, and there's a switch flipped is the way he describes it.
Yeah.
And now I don't know of anybody anywhere that's a bigger evangelist for the cause of treating addiction as a disease is Dr. Van Breeding. And he's really been the energy and driving force of getting HEAL where it is today. He's been the one that's took the lead. And if you're around him, he's got a ton of charisma. He's got a ton of energy, and he'll outwork anybody.
Yeah.
And so he's really pushed this thing forward. And in the process, we met the CEO of MCHC, Mike Cottle, who's become just a very dear friend of ours. And he has put the resources of MCHC behind developing out addiction as an integrated healthcare part or a sector of our healthcare where it's treated as a subspecialty.
Yeah.
And they also brought on board the CEO of ARH,
Right.
Joe Grossman.
Yeah.
And I recently spoke at their board meeting, and I said, there's milestones in the history of our battle of this epidemic. And for Eastern Kentucky, the day
they
that Joe
connected
Grossman,
all the
CEO
big
of ARH,
wigs.
Appalachian Regional
All
Healthcare, has
of
got
them.
9 hospitals in Eastern Kentucky. Puts 2
Congressman
feet
Hal
in
Rogers.
on the battle against addiction
Right.
is one
All
of those
of them.
milestones. And so we've all kind of come together, and now you have, the largest addiction treatment provider in Eastern Kentucky, one of the largest community health centers, federally qualified health center, MCHC, ARH, our largest healthcare entity from a hospital standpoint, all working together. And now SOAR has come. They've been there since the beginning from connecting us. And now SOAR is our lead organization in bringing all this together. And we've now got a name. It's HEAL, Helping End Addiction for Life.
Yeah.
And we've started there in Letcher County. Fantastic community. Everybody on board. We'll have 150 people at our meetings.
Yeah.
And now other communities are wanting to do the same thing.
Right. And we're seeing a move toward that, away from what how SOAR started, where it was a regional kind of working group on an issue. Now we're seeing this move toward community action teams around kind of all the blueprint goals that SOAR supports or has put out there. So that's incredible. Yeah, Whitesburg, and it's been driven. I'm saying I would venture to say they couldn't have done it without us, and we couldn't have done it without them. Yeah. That's the beauty of all the partnerships that we get involved
and one
in.
of the other things too to say here is that Operation Unite has plowed the ground on this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing is not replacing all the good work they're doing with coalitions, because they've done incredible work. There's no other congressional district that has anything like Operation Unite.
No.
What we're doing is kind of coming into a subset of these solutions and really focusing on how do we bring the healthcare community together. And that's been our kind of our initial mission is how do we bring healthcare, the partners together so we can treat this like right now. If I started having a heart attack, you all would know what to do. You call an ambulance, they get me to a hospital, they triage me, then maybe fly me out to a bigger hospital, or they might then, realize I just eat a bad burrito, and,
Right.
and then my next whole year would be all mapped out.
Right.
When somebody's struggling in addiction, we don't have that next step. And
Yeah.
so the power of the work that SOAR and ARH and MCHC and all of our other partners, I don't want to leave out, is that we're helping sort that out.
Right.
What happens when that person presents
Yeah.
to their doctor, to the ER, to wherever with an addiction issue, that we'll have it all figured out, and we're doing it.
Yeah. And that's incredible. And I'd bring another partner into this, the CDC, their staff
Absolutely.
that are working on it. Thanks again to Congressman Rogers that helped bring those resources onto our staff, Megan Williams and Jenna Meyer.
They don't come better than those two.
No, they're great. They've been helping facilitate those meetings in Whitesburg. The round table that we met at, Jenna coordinated all of that. The provider education that we partnered with the University of Pikeville Medical School on, where I think initially WellCare showed up, and Mike and his team from Mount Comprehensive Health Corporation was there. And the kind of this all kind of started germinating, happen. It's innovation. This is totally outside the structure that we would normally think about how we solve these problems. And the reason I'm so optimistic is because the truth is we cannot solve the addiction epidemic without economic opportunity in Appalachia. And with the work that we're involved in on that side of the fence, we're seeing new companies who are announced, new projects. We're seeing entrepreneurs start new businesses. We're seeing you've got 300 employees. How many have you added in the last 2 years? I'm just going to kind of
probably 200 of those.
Right.
I mean,
So
part of it.
So it's not only solving health issue, it's also creating economic opportunity. Where do these peer support specialists, after the day you hire them full time, what do they start at?
Depending on where they're at, because
Yeah.
there's different markets, but anywhere from $10 on the low end to $14 on the high end, depending on where they're starting. There's different
Right. And
labor
that's
markets.
full time.
That's full time. But
Yeah.
but what I love about that is not only is that a good wage in Eastern Kentucky or anywhere, but they get the dignity of being called a behavioral health practitioner.
Right.
And our state gives them a certification
Yeah.
that allows insurance companies to reimburse their services.
Yeah.
And the dignity that gives somebody in addiction to say that I get to make my living now by discussing my struggle, and instead of my felonies and my crash life disqualifying me,
Right.
it's what qualifies me. And that's one of the most powerful things that happens with that.
It is. And if you're already, before you got into addiction, our numbers show that we're about 30,000 jobs short in Appalachia, Kentucky, to meet the needs for all the people who need work. So we think we can affect that number. The digital economy is a big thing. We were at Teleworks, a hub, the last time we did one of these podcasts, the time before last, and they put 150 people to work in Boonville. So it's this idea that, wow, there are opportunities here to put people to work as we continue to build on it. And what you all are doing is scalable. It's going to continue to grow, and there's other organizations doing what you're doing that are growing. But I think people are starting to see that there's actually hope in this process. I don't just because once you are failing, once you've gone through treatment, that makes it that much harder to find a job. And if it was already hard before, then you end up back in the same struggles you were in. So we branched out. We don't have time to go deeply into it, but now we're looking not just peer support, but some technical other training opportunities and working with other employers that could potentially commit to be second chance employers that this same type of internship could work with.
Yep.
And so I'm really excited about that.
And something else caught my mind. He said that they were paying these peer support specialists anywhere between $10 and $14 an hour, but their services were eligible to be reimbursed by Medicaid. So who's paying who, and where's the money? Are they getting, like, I don't know. That's crazy.
That, I don't know if there's anything you have you can share on that
And
end.
just talk a little bit about it. And one of the things that's incredible about where we are, not only are we in the, we're based mostly in the 5th Congressional District and all the leadership that Operation Unite and the congressman's had on this issue in SOAR, but we also on the state level have a lot of champions on this issue. Our governor said he's going to make Kentucky a second chance state, and he's backing that up. Secretary of Justice John Tilley, I saw him at the conference earlier. Never got to speak to him, but he's been a champion on this issue. We've got Secretary Scott Brinkman, that's the current CFHS interim secretary, and the governor's cabinet secretary is fantastic on these issues. Adam Meyer in the governor's office, deputy chief of staff, that's working on this issue. Dr. Connie White, Van Ingram, the director of Office of Drug Control Policy. We've got all these folks, and Dr. Brenzel, and then who I was going to really talk about on this labor issue is our Secretary of Labor, Derek Ramsey, former NFL football player, who's just really, I tell him all the time, he's scoring touchdowns on this issue because he's leading block on getting second chance employment to be a big part of what's going on. And so he's making that a big part of what the cabinet's doing, the labor cabinet is.
Right.
And so now, as companies are coming into the region, you're connecting them with us. Other folks are connecting with us, and they're having the conversations on the front end that we know there's a drug problem here. How do we get out in front of it? How do we get out in front of pre-screening? What does it mean to have all this addiction treatment here, and how can ARC as a provider?
And I guarantee you,
give us a
Medicaid's
drug-proof
paying them a
It's
whole lot
different
more than
philosophy
$10 to
than,
$14 an
everybody
hour.
fails a drug test and you just push it to the side. And you've shared that kind of philosophy. Talk about that just for a second as we get what the alternative to that approach is.
Yeah, and we've seen it over and over. Not only have we produced great employees that have come through treatment, vocational rehabilitation, we put them in the workforce, but we've gotten people who have lost their job or failed a drug screen and give them a reset, and they're able to go back. In some of our outpatient centers, our first outpatient center was in Mount Sterling, which has a big manufacturing base.
Yeah.
And at one time, we had 40 blue-collar workers there in our outpatient program that were working every day, that were keeping their house, that were continuing to support their family, because with the right type of addiction treatment, it's not all created equal, but with compassionate, evidence-based, holistic care, even on the outpatient side of things, we've been able to stabilize folks and keep them working. And Secretary Ramsey, who I mentioned earlier,
we've been able to stabilize folks.
By 2024, at the rate that our economic development is occurring in the state, we'll have 700,000 open jobs.
Yeah.
My estimates is that we have between 400,000 and 500,000 addicted folks that are today on Kentucky Medicaid that, if given an opportunity, could fill those jobs.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big voice for that, is that we need 700,000 workers. I can tell you half of my 300 are some of the best, most hardworking folks you'll ever see. And so when it comes to second chance employment, that's got to be a part of what we do as a state in the region.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're coming to the end here. I'm going to ask one more question. If anybody watching has a question or a comment or thought, just leave a comment and we'll address it. So what would you share with someone who is in addiction right now that may be watching? Somebody may be watching as a family member, a spouse, a child, a parent that is dealing with addiction. Where's the hope in that? What's the path forward? What are the steps? What are the opportunities that they can take? I know in my work outside of SOAR, kind of at the community level through our church and different things,
They're all
there are
preachers.
many times that people just feel completely hopeless and like there is no access to recovery, or who
All
do
of
I
them.
call or where do I go? As I talked to one that said, "Hey, I knew I was either going to die or go to jail." They think that's their two options. What's the other option?
Go ahead, Matt. You've been there recently.
So what I can say is from personal experience that there's no such thing as too far gone, because if there was, I would have been.
Yeah.
And today, because of the things that we've discussed here, if someone is in addiction and they're in Kentucky, they have a plethora of opportunities to receive help. It's no longer something that's been shoved into the shadows.
Yeah.
You know, when I was going through my active addiction, I thought I was all by myself.
Yeah.
I had no idea how many other people were struggling with this. And
That's
the
how
shame and the guilt and the embarrassment of even raising my hand and saying it's me was just it was an obstacle that I didn't think I could overcome. But today, in most places I go, it's hard for me to not run into someone who has gotten better from this disease and is getting better. And so if anybody out there, family member or person, is struggling with addiction,
that's how disconnected these people are. He thought he was the only one going through it. Every single person in southeastern Kentucky has been affected by this problem, whether it was self, a family member, a coworker, a friend, everybody. This entire area was absolutely decimated by the opioid epidemic. And they only want people that they can take the credit for.
I urge you to just step out. There's people that are struggling just like you are right
In
now.
my
There's people that are
opinion.
getting better, and you can call 606-638-0938.
Because they don't want nobody unless you
And
go
there
through
are
their
a dozen
program.
people waiting for you to call right now. And we accept all forms of Kentucky Medicaid and most private insurances. And then the other thing that I love that we have available now for people is you can go on our website at arccenters.com, www.arccenters.com, and a little chat bubble pops up and introduces an intake specialist to you.
Yeah.
And you can have a very non-invasive chat conversation with
Totally
that person.
confidential.
Right, totally
Yeah.
confidential. And it's a very safe place to ask questions. And the good thing about it is it's not 6 months to wait for a bed. It's 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
And we all know that in addiction treatment, the quicker you can get somebody help when they need it, the better.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts? I don't think we have any questions right now. Anything else you'd like to?
The last thing I'd want to say is earlier we talked about local solutions here in Appalachia. Matt and I are both from Martin County. County seats Inez, and Inez, Kentucky is where Lyndon Johnson kicked off the war on poverty. Now, 50-some years ago, actually in the month of April. And I was a part of a group that did an event called Dream Martin County, where we said that the first 50 years there's been progress made. But if the next 50 years is going to look different, it's going to take local folks from Eastern Kentucky, Appalachia, from Central Appalachia who roll up their sleeves and get to work.
Yeah.
I like your phrase that you use. It takes a lot of grit and a lot of faith and a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that's what SOAR's doing.
Yeah.
That SOAR's inspiring those of us that live here, that are from there. You yourself, I'm a Golfin County guy who's leading this effort in the region.
Yeah.
We're Eastern Kentucky, and so I think that's the power of what SOAR's doing. It's inspiring us all that we can dream again, and that the best days of Appalachia, of Eastern Kentucky, are not behind us; they're ahead of us.
Well, all right. So we love that. Little faith and a lot of grit. That was our tagline at last year's summit. We think faith is seeing the thing that kind of feels like it's impossible, because you look at where Appalachia is and where it's been, and we see it totally different. We see hope here. We see opportunity here, because I've found it here, and you all have found it here. And then the grit is the determination it takes when it's not easy, but you push through and you persevere through it. And that's what our people have done for generations. So we're going to continue to do it in the 21st century. And our office is in Pikeville. There was a police officer killed there not too long ago. And I got to hear his last call on the radio when they were doing his funeral, and it made me think, because they shared where he was and what he did, and their final thing was, "We'll take it from here." I thought we sit on the shoulders of so many great people in Appalachia, have gone way before us and been working on solving this problem way before us. Congressman Rogers, so many organizations of people, but we see another generation stepping up to say, "Hey, we're going to continue this great work, and we're not giving up, and there is a future in Appalachia." And so that's what we believe. That's what the podcast is about. And we try to bring evidence of that. I think you saw that here today. Again, Tim and Matt, we're sharing a lot of their information in the feed below. You can find links to their website of Addiction Recovery Care Centers. Feel free to message them if you have any questions. Thank you for joining us. Share the message, share the video with your friends.
Okay. So I won't put you through the rest of that. So let's go up here then. I want to show you this other one. That's them at the summit. Kentucky author. No, that's not the one. U.S. Surgeon General. The HEAL meeting. Okay. Matt Brown. Back in, this is off of the guy that was in the middle of those three that we're just talking. He's the third one, or the one in the middle. And this was a post that he had put up on the HEAL page. Back in April 2014, on a dark and dreary Friday evening, I pulled off this very exit to meet a rug reeler and nearly blew my whole paycheck on pain. Yeah. I was near the end of my rope and hated life, but I couldn't stop using rugs and rinking. No matter how hard I tried, life sucked. Yesterday, as I drove by this very same exit while on the way to a HEAL meeting, God reminded me of not only what he brought me from, but what he has launched me into, a life of destiny, purpose, and gratitude. I couldn't help but take a picture of this beautiful spot on the road. Everything looked so bright and shiny, and at that moment, everything made perfect sense. If you or a loved one is struggling, and then it gives the numbers there. Hang on, let me get up here to this other little video that I found. This is all the HEAL. Here it is.
That you would have be doing what you're doing now?
Never.
Yeah,
Never.
I don't either, and I've been a SOAR year. So, folks, thanks a lot for listening. Please share this. Hello, everyone. This is Josh again. We're at Addiction Recovery Care today,
Okay.
doing a filming for a special video that's going to air at our summit on August 31st in Pikeville.
Hear it and stuff.
If you want to register, please go ahead and do so. Theresafuture.org.
There's Matt
take
Brown
advantage
down
of that.
there in the
And
corner.
we just completed a great interview
And
with
this is
someone.
Joshua Ball.
I've been a SOAR literally a year. And Kayla was one of the first stories that I was able to tell. And I was talking about the Peer Support Specialist Program, the academy here that Addiction Recovery Care has put together in conjunction with the Eastern Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program, Sullivan University, and SOAR. And I came up here honestly to write the story, and I was trying to figure out, how do I take this wonderful program and put a human element to it? And I stumbled literally on to Kayla, and Kayla told me her story, and it just clicked. I mean, it just really, brought home the fact of addiction being an issue that we talk about, but oftentimes we don't talk about it in the context of a future. And part of our future is, what do we do with this epidemic? And we just completed. You talked about, I sent her article to the Ashland Daily Independent, which she's from Ashland, and they decided to run it.
Right.
And we let them kind of have first dibs on it, and several other publications ran the article. But tell us a little bit about what happened after that article. And if you want to talk about, the goals that you had while you were in recovery, and kind of how that one moment with your daughter kind of sealed and validated that goal that you never thought that you probably could attain.
All right. So the coolest part, it was cool having the story run in my hometown paper, and it was cool being able to share hope. But one morning I woke up and I went to get my daughter up for school, and she had cut the article out from the paper and she had taped it to the wall above her bed. And on the article, she said, "Good job, Mom." When I was in treatment, every day we answered 4 questions. And one of those questions was, I want to be someone who. Well, more often than not, I wanted to be someone who my kids could be proud of. And I realized that morning when I saw that article that I had finally attained that goal. Through all of the yuck, through losing custody, through thinking I would never see my children again, I'd finally made them proud. They were proud of me the whole time. You know, she tells me that I'm the perfect mommy. And it's crazy when I think of the times through my addiction and all of the junk I put them through. She's proud of me now.
Yeah, that's
pretty
awesome. That's what recovery is all about, and that's part of the future that we want to build. And we've got Matt Brown here, and Matt is Chief of Staff of Addiction Recovery Care. He is an expert in Facebook Live, which I'm not. And in an effort of full disclosure, we know each other, and we are both from Martin County.
How long have we known each other?
We've known each other since the womb, I think.
I think so too.
You know, I can tell some stories about Matt's inability to hit a winning shot
Oh,
on a
buddy.
basketball team, and he has laid enough bricks to build many a mansion. And but no, Matt's a great guy, and actually has a great story if you've never heard it, and if you want to share a little bit about that. But also want to talk about Addiction Recovery Care's footprint in Louisa and literally all across Appalachia, Kentucky.
Yeah, thanks, Josh, and we're glad to have you here, and we appreciate everything that SOAR has done in Louisa with Addiction Recovery Care and in the region in general. I think there's a huge movement happening that you guys are spearheading, and so we're really grateful for what you guys are doing there at SOAR. My story, and I'll keep it very short, my story is like most stories of people who are in addiction. I struggled for 18 years addicted to substances, drugs, and alcohol, and I tried for 18 years to stop, and my best efforts weren't good enough. And I finally crashed my life for the last time in May of 2014, and I ended up in an addiction recovery care treatment facility located near Moorhead in Fleming County. And I had a career as a physical therapist to return to, but I took advantage of Addiction Recovery Care's vocational opportunities, and I stayed and I did an internship program. And at the end of my 1 year in treatment, I was offered a job and stayed with the company, despite having an opportunity to go back to physical therapy. And so I stayed, and I went from crisis to career just like Kayla did. Yeah. And my life today is different and better than I ever thought it could be, because of Addiction Recovery Care's holistic approach, the medical, the clinical, the spiritual, and the vocational rehabilitation that we offer to folks. And what I want to say about Addiction Recovery Care's footprint in Louisa specifically is 5 years ago, I've been in recovery for a little over 4 years. And if you rewind 5 years, I was living in Louisa. I was a healthcare professional, and I knew basically no one who was beating addiction. I'd heard about this. I see Vanessa's watching. I'd heard about this Vanessa person who had beat addiction. And I thought, well, maybe she wasn't as bad as I was. She must have just got lucky and beat this thing. But then when I ended up in treatment and I met Vanessa and I met James and I met Tim and I met so many other people who were winning, who were living a full, abundant life in recovery, I started to see, okay, I can do this too. And so today I am unable to go anywhere in Louisa, Kentucky and not see someone that's winning. Whether it's the dollar store, we have several, and whether it's Walmart, and I love them, by the way, Walmart, whether it's the fitness center, church.
You love everybody.
I love everybody. That's right. But I can't go anywhere in this whole town and not see somebody that's beating this thing. And so there's a recovery momentum that is occurring in Louisa that is unlike anything that I've ever seen.
And, you know, I think too that we need to look at addiction and recovery as what it is. It's a recovery. And when one recovers from anything, that means you go from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. And I mean that, you know, in a different way,
Well,
but you know, it's about getting people from crisis to career. And I think part of the movement that we're seeing is that people that are in recovery at any point of their recovery, whether they're just walking in the door, or whether they're in phase 2, phase 3, or clean and sober for X amount of time, that they are a part of the future of Appalachia, that we're all working together to try to build. So again, if you want to share your website and those types of things so people can learn more about what you're doing, it's a wonderful organization, and we're going to showcase a little bit of the backstory, but a lot of the real story. And it's not only about the Peer Support Academy, it's about the people's lives that it's affected, just like you. I mean, you're now the Deputy Chief of Staff. And how long ago were you walking through the doors of Karen's Place?
I walked through the doors of Karen's Place August 11th of 2016.
So from 2016 and August of 2016 to July 2018, you ever dreamed that you would have be doing what you're doing now?
Never.
Yeah,
Never.
I don't either, and I've been a SOAR year. So,
doesn't it?
folks, thanks a lot for listening. Please share this. The summit is August 30th and 31st. Register at thereisafuture.org. Thank you.
All right. And let's see. There's SOAR again. SOAR is empowering people in Appalachia to use education, knowledge, and action to turn the tide in the opioid addiction epidemic. Okay. Then they had a big HEAL meeting. Here, this is the doctor. This is
holiday. So it's amazing the way we have been able to change the climate here in Letcher County and in the surrounding counties. Ralph Halls with us tonight. He helps lead the Prairie County HEAL program. He's an administrator at Leadwood Blackie in Prairie County. And Laura Gates with us from Alsip County. She leads the one down in Alsip County. And Shannon Rutherford's over here. She leads our Harding County HEAL. So we have representatives from all our HEAL programs. So if you have friends or people who need help in other counties, you can be glad to refer them into the local program in the local county. So we're glad to help out.
let's see.
And so when I visited both schools, though, at the end of the day, at the time, Kentucky's program, their facilities, everything was way better.
Okay, well, we won't go through all of that one. Let me see here. Stop sharing that. Turn that off. Okay. Now, I wanted to just look at one more thing. This is the HEAL page. And let's see what it says, what it reads. Founding. Right here. All right, can you see it? This is the HEAL website. HEAL, Help End Addiction for Life, founding of HEAL, and then look at all the people. It says HEAL is a coalition that is successfully run by members who are motivated only by the need to respond to the opioid crisis. HEAL is supported by volunteers and operated without dedicated funding or a legal mandate. Participating in HEAL is an opportunity to learn from others working on the same issues. Building increased awareness and accountability through the monthly meeting structure. HEAL has monthly public meetings that bring stakeholders together to examine needs, monitor progress, and maintain accountability on agreed upon activities. And then look at all of the people who are affiliated then. You've got Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation, MCHC, Appalachian Regional Healthcare, that's ARH, the hospital, Addiction Recovery Care, that's ARC, SOAR, Letcher County Health Department, Kentucky River District Health Department, Southeast Community and Technical College, Sam Wright, Kentucky Supreme Court Justice, Jim Ward, Letcher County Judge Executive. He's not in office anymore. Somebody else has got elected since he was there. WellCare of Kentucky, Al-Anon representatives, AA representatives, Kentucky College of Osteopathic Medicine, Letcher County Drug Court, Kevin Mullins, Letcher County Judge, James Kraft, Letcher County Judge, Perry County Sheriff's Department, Letcher County Sheriff's Department, Letcher County Jail, Unite, USAP, UK Faith Moves Mountains, Dr. Alan Brenzel, Kentucky Department of Behavioral Health, Karen Sams, HIV Services Program Manager, and Court of Appeals Judge Gene Smallwood. And so that is the founding partners of the HEAL. The home page looks a little bit different. It just has, all right, who we are. The HEAL Consortium is driven by a single goal: to eliminate the substance use disorder epidemic in our communities. Our process is to infuse resources for addiction into the community to break down the isolation that is caused by addiction. We strive to make lasting and effective change in prevention, education, treatment, and recovery. We must work together to make this change and save lives. Now, do you see down here at the bottom? Hear our stories. James Keaton, Vanessa Keaton, Kayla Parsons, and Tim Robinson. That's Tim Robinson, the leader or the CEO of ARC, right there. So, there you have what little bit I dug up on the affiliations with ARC. And I'm going to leave this video here. We've been on for an hour and 11 minutes. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I sure appreciate everybody being part. Let's see. Thank you. Big shout out to Buckwheat, Mikey D, Gritty Grat, Buckwheat, Mikey D. Okay. And Truth and Transparency. Miss TNT herself came in for a few minutes. So thank you so much, honey. Shout out. Ruby Rourke. Magenta Trauma. Thank you, honey. Thank you for coming. Audrey Boggs. Southern Beauty. Mama Duck. Love it. I love it. I love it. Getting someone clean and giving them a job doesn't fix the problem. Well, and two, people have to get themselves clean. Recovery is not something that anybody else can do for us. How many of us already know that you cannot force someone into recovery? It doesn't matter. If they're not ready, they're not ready. And they have to be willing and able, or, to make that change in their life. I want to do a live on addiction, period, and just the different forms of treatment. When I first started going to the HEAL meetings and stuff, the doctor, I'll just say one of the doctors, was very abstinence only. That was his mindset, that recovery was just abstinence only, that medically assisted treatment, he did not like it. He did not like it at all. He was not sold on that. He really, not just him, a whole lot of people feel like you just trade one thing for the other. But that's like the red herring, with recovery and treatment. It's about becoming functional. People have to be able to function and support themselves, or at least to me, that's the most important thing. Like, we need people to be able to hold a job and pay their bills and take care of their children. keep kids out of the system, keep them at home, but in a safe and loving home, you know. That should be, to me, that should be the number one focus and priority. And back when this all really got started with the peer support specialists and stuff, you had, they didn't want anybody who was on, who worked with them. They didn't want to hire anybody as a peer support specialist who was in medically assisted treatment. At least that's how it came across to me. They wanted only abstinence only people who were in recovery to work in those jobs. And so I'm sure it changed. Their perceptions and their views on things changed over time. But at the beginning, that wasn't what it was. I went to all those meetings. I went with my camera and I videotaped it all. And I tried to talk to them. I tried to get myself a job. And there wasn't no job for me nowhere. And, you know, so you had to go through their program. It seemed like that was the only way you were going to have any position. And, you know, in this area, there's not a whole lot of jobs, you know. I mean, the gas station's always hiring, or the dollar store, or, you know, you've got those kind of minimum wage jobs, but those aren't going to support 2 kids and pay my bills as a single mother. And, you know, I used to be much more of an advocate of higher education with college degrees. But now that I owe myself $40,000 in student loans, and I never really used my degrees for anything. Now I'm much more of an advocate for skilled labor, you know, like send people to school and teach them how to be a welder, or, you know, a carpenter, or a plumber, or, you know, heating and air. Because we have a whole generation of people coming up, of young people now in this area, who don't know how to do nothing. You know, you used to have coal miners. Everybody was a coal miner. And coal miners were the hardest working people alive. They worked in the worst conditions, the most dangerous conditions. They worked the most hours. And so that was what everybody kind of aspired to be. It was generational. You know, you grew up and you became a coal miner, because with that wage, that being a coal miner provided the kind of wage that would support a family. Like away from here, you had factory jobs back in the day. Everybody wanted to, you know, get on at Toyota, or everybody wanted to get on at some big factory somewhere because of the wage increase. You know, they were able to support their families with those kinds of paying jobs. And so now education, Gen Z lost touch with reality because of social media. That's about right. That's about right. Yeah. But I just feel like skilled labor is much more beneficial to people nowadays. You know, I think it would be anyway. And so, like I said, I think it was yesterday, when I showed the lawsuit with that Eugene Cisco in Pike County. I remember when they came to Whitesburg and set up their clinics, you know, and there was a line out the door and around the courthouse at one time of people down in Whitesburg, because the office was sat right directly behind the courthouse, right next to where the sheriff's office is now. And it was just money, 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 money. I was so glad to see them, because at first, when like medically assisted treatment started to take hold, only certain doctors who were licensed to prescribe these medications, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but subs, they call them subs, only certain doctors could prescribe it. So they had to get special training and they had to get a special certification to be able to do that. So you had people that would set up these clinics and then contract the doctors to come in, and then they would contract counseling services, and they were charging people $400 and $500 a month. And these are these same people. It's the same people that ARC is servicing now, and that was when they wouldn't accept the Medicaid. And it was an all cash business almost anywhere you went. And none of the doctors would take Medicaid for the longest time. And then they kept finding new ways to victimize patients. It was just unreal. And now all of those guidelines and regulations have been loosened up to some extent. Like now, nurse practitioners can prescribe the medication. I don't know if they necessarily need that special training anymore now to be able to prescribe it. I don't know. That'd be something I didn't look up. But I know that a lot of doctors now, a lot of family doctors can write that kind of medicine now. So you no longer have to go through ARC. You no longer have to go through these clinics that were abusing people. Now you can just go to your family doctor and they can write it, I'm pretty sure. And so, but that'd be something good to dig into and kind of see the evolution of how they've done that. SAR, Slick Midnight. Thank you. Joshua Rivers. You're my new favorite YouTuber. When financial circumstances improve, you may just be the first creator that I support monetarily. Well, thank you, honey. I'm in that same boat with you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Julie Farrell. My grandfather on my dad's side was a coal miner, ended badly with black lung. I think all coal miners ended up with black lung. Coal miners who actually worked, for a very, very long time. A whole lot of them couldn't read or write because they started in the mines at such a young age. Toyota is hiring. I'm in Georgetown. I bet they are. Yeah. My cousin works there. I have a cousin that works there. He's a big shot there at Toyota, I think. He might have retired now, though. Let's see. Not only that, Mama Duck, you have to address the pain part of addiction, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, or social. We have to get that addressed or you don't fix it. That's exactly right. Doctors now are admitting that not addressing true pain only makes patients go to the streets. That's exactly, yes. You've got so many elderly and people who have serious physical ailments and injuries and, just from whatever reason, who are legitimately in pain, and they can't get hardly anything to treat their pain. It's such a double-edged sword, and it's awful. One of the things that I found, there's a certain doctor, let me just say it this way. There's a certain doctor who is very involved in all of this recovery. And in one state, I looked it up and found it. His license had been suspended previously, many years ago, because he was overprescribing pain medication in this area. And, to go from being one of the doctors who flooded the area with the substances to then being a doctor who's spearheading treatment services, a little something not right about that. It's a revolving door. You got that right, Southern Beauty. They buy halfway houses next to bad shacks to get you back to the detox. They have these people they hire called Badu. They go to big cities and recruit. Oh, they go to big cities and recruit people with addiction to go to their rehab. Patients who have serious painful conditions are suffering greatly. Yes. Yeah, I know. Halfway houses work as long as they're on parole. The second they're off DOC, poof, they're living in the scrub behind Walmart. Fix their teeth. That would be the biggest thing that anybody could do. Like if these organizations really wanted to help people, they would help them get their teeth. You got so many people who struggle with addiction, where oral hygiene was not a, well, you can't even say it wasn't a priority because, I don't know, for whatever reason, a lot of people in Eastern Kentucky have, maybe it's genetic, maybe it's something in the water, in the food, I don't know, but you have a lot of people who don't have proper dental care, and so you have a whole lot of people around here who don't have, I don't even know how to say it. But if that's what somebody wanted to really help people, to get them a job and stuff, help them get them some teeth. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to feel like you're presentable to go into a job interview somewhere. Well, who's going to go to a job interview if you don't even have any teeth? It would be very embarrassing. It'd make you feel ashamed. Before people get their teeth done, a lot of times they just don't show their teeth. They don't show their mouth. They keep it covered up. But that's what I've always wanted. I always used to say that if I could ever start some kind of an organization, it would be something to help people get them some teeth. Oh, absolutely. Dental care is health care. It's crazy. You can't say teeth on YouTube. You can't say teeth. I've been begging my doctor to just amputate my feet because the neuropathy is excruciating. Oh, they gave me new compound. It's helped, but I'm still in pain. I'm sorry, honey. People everywhere are rightly terrified of dentists. It should be part of medical detox so they don't have a reason to miss appointments. Hi, Miss Lori. Neuropathy, yeah. I know people have a lot of problems with that. And, you know, it's just sad. It's sad. But in every industry, you're going to have people who take advantage. You're going to have a group of people who are only out for, themselves. Which, I mean, that is the basis of starting a business, is for it to make a profit, for it to be a profitable business. I just think that it's funny though. Both of those guys that we just listened to, one was a prosecutor and a lawyer in private practice. So was he in his own addiction when he was being a prosecutor, prosecuting cases? I don't know. But so he left private practice and being a prosecutor to run a recovery. The money has to be better or you're not going to do that. I mean, and then the other one left being a physical therapist, and the money that you bring in on that to work in treatment. I'd like to know what a lot of the others' original professions were. One time in Scott County, Kentucky, the coroner was accused of stealing a man's eyes. Oof. And the dentist blames you if you've got bad teeth and often accuse you of rugs. My teeth were cut out as a child and as an adult due to a genetic disorder, but several made me cry along the way. I know, honey. I know. I'm so sorry. I think a lot of us have had situations with our teeth where it's, if you've, I know after I had my children, I started having problems with mine. And my grandmother, I reckon she had hers taken out when she was a child too. She was like maybe a late teens, early 20s. And so she had false teeth that she wore for the rest of her life. And nobody even knew that she had false teeth for a long time, I don't think, till she got older. Yeah. And, taking care of your teeth is kind of like it's a learned thing. It's a learned behavior. If you've got parents who stress the importance of it as a child and they make you brush your teeth and they help you brush your teeth. But if you don't have parents who stress those kinds of things to you, then you're probably not going to make it a big priority as an adult. I mean, that just kind of goes with anything. A lot of all our problems are from poor nutrition. Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave this one here. We've been on for an hour and a half. And I've got a couple more things I wanted to do today too, but I'm going to take a little break and then I'll come back on in a little bit. I've got something put together for the Mark Putnam, the FBI agent who unalived his mistress. And then I wanted to do one on Miss Amber from Prestonsburg. All right, y'all. Well, you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys here in just a little bit, okay? Bye. Thank you. Subscribe and like the channel. Like the video.